Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again on the Connecting Greeks show. This is a show where we get the best, the coolest, the funniest, the most amazing Greeks from all around the world. We bring them together. We get to learn a little bit about them. And every single time, I always say, there's no similarities between me and this person. And every single time we will find all the similarities because Greeks, no matter where you are, no matter what you do, Greeks are like one people. Thank you for joining us. With me, as always, is up in Boston. I'm in DC. And up in Boston is Foti Stamos. Hello, Foti.
Yasu Ari.
How are you?
Good. You couldn't have said it any better about us, being one people.
Yes, one people that love each other and hate each other. And speaking of hate, I want to introduce our best guy all the way on the West Coast, Angelo Tsarouchas. What's up, Angelo?
Hey, guys. How's it going? I hope you guys are doing well on the East Coast, Boston and Washington. We're here in sunny Los Angeles. Things are opening up finally here.
Very nice.
Avocados, oranges, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very excited about today's show. I'm very excited about our guest, who's a dear, dear friend of mine. Extremely funny comedian, actor, director. He's originally from Jersey. This is a great story. He lived in LA. Now he lives in Los Angeles with his lovely wife.
I live in Vegas. I live in Vegas now.
You're in Vegas now. Yeah. I want to welcome Harry Basil. Harry, welcome to Connecting Greeks. Thanks for coming on.
Yasu,
Hello, Harry.
Hi, guys. How are you?
And Harry also is the talent coordinator and owner, one of the owners at the Laugh Factory, where I get to play one of the best clubs in Vegas and Reno, and they're going all over the place. And I'm going to start off with this, Harry. Harry and I, when they opened the new Laugh Factory in Chicago, we got to go together. And Harry's act is like taking you through the movies, so it's very visual. And when you watch Harry's act, it's like you're watching Superman, The Godfather, Blues Brothers. I mean, the energy he has is amazing. And Harry, that's the energy that Rodney Dangerfield picked up from you when he saw you. And you were your credit. There's so many credits, so I can't give you all the credits because HBO Young Comedian Special. You hung out with Kinnison. You're friends with Dice Clay. You're one of the diamond guys at the Comedy Store. And coming from a Greek family, what made you go then to LA to do comedy? Like how did that happen?
You need a haircut. You should get one live on.
I know. Look at this.
You should get one. You could let Olivia do it. Just give her a pair of scissors, and let her go. Little paper scissors, and let her go to town. Let her go.
I know. I gotta cut it soon.
Wow, that was a great intro. I started I'm from New Jersey, and wanted to be an actor, and I came from a big Greek family. My mom, it was just my mom with 5 kids.
Oh boy.
So I kind of helped support the family, and our yaya lived with us, and I used to joke about this. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, and my yaya, we built a room for her in the dining room. We stuck her in there and then built a drywall around her. So in order for her to get out, she had to lose weight. You know what I mean? To get out of delivery. And she would always say we had nothing. Even though we had stuff, it would be like, denek diputa, denek gala, denek sumi, denek nothing. We have nothing. And she was only happy when the fridge was just super, super packed. But I said to my mom, look, when I'm 21, I want to move to LA and try to be an actor, because I knew, I worked as a waiter in a couple of different restaurants. So I knew that I wanted to get a job as a waiter when I went out to LA, and I knew you had to be 21 to serve alcohol. So that's when I waited. I waited until I was 21, and then I moved out there, and then eventually found out about the Comedy Store. And I just went as a, as just a audience member with some friends that were visiting from Jersey. Somebody told me that it was free to get in on Monday nights. It was amateur night. So I went in and I saw all these amateur guys. But then after the amateur guys, I saw Louie Anderson and Andrew Dice Clay and Jim Carrey and all these pros. And a lot of them, like Jim Carrey and Dice, they used music and props and did impressions. And I could always do impressions. So I decided to come up with an act, like a variety act. That kind of helped everything with my career, acting and directing and all of that. But yeah, that was my entree into comedy, was watching the amateurs and then the pros going on afterwards and seeing the difference between the two, and then realizing you need a polished act. And I came up with that movie, the movie spoof thing, because I could always do impressions,
But Harry, but you're describing, like Harry's saying it like it's nothing. After amateur night, Jim Carrey, Louie Anderson.
Yeah.
These guys are.
A week later, I went up and I had gone to Magic Mountain, and I bought a whip in like Frontierland or something like that. And because Indiana Jones, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, was still like in theaters, So I remember I was goofing around with my roommate, and I grabbed a garbage bag, like a 30-gallon garbage bag, and I filled it up with air and pretended it was a boulder, like chasing me. And, and then I picked up our socks and pretended there were snakes. It's stupid stuff, right? Then I wound up buying the props, and that's what I auditioned was just Raiders of the Lost Ark, not even using any music. I hummed the music, and Missy hired me. So now I had to come up with more stuff. And luckily she put me in Westwood. The Westwood Comedy Club was open. So I was a runner, making like $35 a day as her like runner assistant. And then I was a doorman at night, making $25, and then doing spots in Westwood for like $15. But I developed the act over in Westwood, Wow. And one day she sent me to Tower Records, the famous Tower Records on Sunset Boulevard, to buy her, I think it was a Barbra Streisand CD. And I was never into music as a kid. We never had a record player that worked, so I wasn't like going out buying albums and stuff. So I saw the section that said soundtracks, and I was like, what's that? And I went around to the front of it, and I saw all these movie soundtracks. Never seen it before in a record store. So I started writing my act. Like I was looking and I was going, oh my God, Risky Business. I could do Tom Cruise dancing in my underwear. Rocky, I could drink an egg and punch meat. Superman, I could lay on a stool and pretend I'm flying. Like I just started writing all these bits, and and then cut the music together and made the costumes or bought whatever props I needed. And then the act was like developed out of that, Can
I
just
make a comment? It's weird that
you can make a comment. Go ahead. You're not nice. You're a little bit you're a little not nice, but go ahead. What's the comment?
So listening to you, and being part of the current atmosphere of what's going on in the world, you sound like you would have been, if you were born in a different time, you would have been like a YouTube star today.
Maybe if I was creating like those little vignettes. I mean, I used to use video in the show a lot,
you have to understand, imagine you had a video camera in your pocket like these kids do now, and you were doing the stuff you were doing.
Well, you know what? I've been making movies since I was 10 years old, little Super 8 movies. So it started with that, and I made, army movies, cowboy movies, horror film. I did a vampire movie called Count Meshuggah with a Jewish vampire, shot it in black and white. We used these really cool tunnels. It's on, I think you could see that on YouTube, Count Meshuggah and Jaws 3 Land Shark, and the Jaws 3 one, I won an award, a film award, and Otto Preminger was the judge and presented the award to me, legendary director Otto Preminger. So yeah, so that was like, that's where the whole movie thing came from. I wanted to be a director since I was 10 years old, and idolized Spielberg. So a lot of the movies in my act, still, and at the very beginning, were all Spielberg films. You know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jaws, E.T., you know, Jurassic Park, just kept adding, because his movies are like, now I want to do West Side Story, but I want to do Spielberg's version of West Side Story. Even though he's directing it, I want to stick like a lot of his blockbuster elements into the musical of West Side Story.
The West Side Story.
Like the shark theme with the Jets and the Sharks and all that kind of stuff. So that might be the new bit that I wind up working on. But yeah, so that was my background. I loved movies. And my dad left my mom when I was like 12 or 13 and left her with 5 kids, and I had to get jobs and, you know, to help support the family. But the one good thing he did was he left a Super 8 movie camera in the closet. So it kind of became mine, you know what I mean? And that's what I started to use to make these films with some of my buddies.
I remember the Super 8 cameras. You get, you know.
Yeah.
And the I don't know if Forty and Artie would remember these things, but
I do. I took a small film class where we had to use Super 8. Other than that, no exposure, but it was really fun to work with them.
Yeah, well, you know, I even developed the film in one of my film classes in high school. Our art teacher had a film class, Mr. Bogastat, and we had to do everything. We had to add the sound stripe on the film. So like there were Super 8 sound cameras, but then if you wanted to add music to it, you had to add this little, like almost like a tape, like cassette tape, but really thin. And you had to run it through this machine and you couldn't waver. Otherwise you would go right down the middle of the film. You had to keep it on the side. And then you could record your sound onto that. And then Count Meshuggah, which was in black and white, I developed that in a bag, you know, so I had to go into my bathroom and put tinfoil on the windows and a towel under the door, no light to come in. And I developed like one roll of film. Half of it didn't come out, but I had pieces that I could use. But it was fun, you know, and it was fun working with film and then editing, you know, and splicing and all that kind of stuff.
And then later on, you co-wrote Meet Wally Sparks for Rodney. And you directed it.
On, like once I became a professional comic, like here I was in Westwood developing the act, and then, you know, I started adding all this music, and I had this big ending, and then Westwood closed, and I remember I was still the runner, so I had to help tear Westwood Comedy Store apart. And my buddy and I, who moved out from Jersey, were on the roof of the Westwood Comedy Store shoveling all the beer bottles and glasses of Kennison, and a lot of comics, they drink, and then like a grenade, they would throw the bottle up onto the roof. And it was like this thick of broken glass up there. And we're fucking shoveling this all off and then tearing the club apart. And now I'm going, I hope she gives me spots in LA. And I had cut this ending that I did. I think it was closing with Flashdance, you know, the Maniac, and dumping water on my head. I had a bra and the shirt that was pulled like this, and I'm doing the whole bit. She's a maniac going up and down. I had a really cute butt then too, by the way, so I looked a little bit like Jennifer Beals. And then I would go into Rocky, and I had the Rocky trunks, and I would punch meat. I had real steak on stage, and I would drink an egg and then and close with that. She put me on after Rodney, Robin Williams, and Richard Pryor.
Wow. Get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
Rodney
Williams,
Robin,
and Richard Pryor. And you went on after them.
After because these guys would be guest sets. They weren't announced, you know what I mean? And Harris Pete would introduce, and he'd go, ladies and gentlemen, it's a hat trick, Richard Pryor, and the crowd would go nuts, right?
Wow.
So I'm going up, and I'm like 21 years old, and I'm going up, and I do the whole bit with music. It's the first time Mitzi's seeing the full act, right? She only saw the Raiders of the Lost Ark with me humming. So now I'm doing this full act, doing Tom Cruise and Risky Business, dancing around in my underwear, Superman, all this stuff. And I close with the Rocky, and I get a standing ovation. And she grabs my arm when I'm coming off stage and goes, "You're not the runner anymore. You're a fucking headliner." And the next week, I was in like both shows in the main room, both shows in the OR, and then Vegas opened like a month later, and I was headlining the Vegas at the Dunes. So it happened really quick once the good thing was being over in Westwood and being able to fail and develop the act, and then from then on, I started getting agents and development deals, and went the whole route, tried the pilots and stuff like that, failed pilots, but hooking up with Rodney was the big break, doing his HBO special.
Did you hook up with Rodney because he took a shine to you, or because like people were like,
no,
you guys should get together?
They were looking for comics for the Young Comedian special,
right? The HBO.
Mitzi put me on the showcase, and I got hired.
Wow.
But they couldn't do all the music because it cost a lot of money. It was like $50,000 a song or whatever.
Oh my gosh!
For me to just use like little snippets. So I did this like Excalibur thing where I pulled a sword out of a woman's groin. Stupid. I watched some of the TV. It's so stupid. My act doesn't go over well on television. You know what I mean?
But Harry, you were
better live. It was so silly.
Harry, that special you're on was legendary. Like you were amidst, wasn't Dice on that one also?
Yeah, it was the 9th annual Young Comedian special. And there had been 8 previous ones that a lot of comedians were on and got fame. But Rodney's was the highest rated. And it had Sam Kinison, Louie Anderson, Bob Saget, Maurice LaMarche, Rita Rudner, and Yakov Smirnoff.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and Bob Nelson, who wound up becoming really hot from it. He did this whole football player thing where he put balloons under his shirt.
I remember. Yeah,
I remember that.
Showed him a pad. So that's like the only TV I ever did where I would get recognized. Like in the street, because a lot of people saw that. Whose phone is that?
That's my daughter. The thing's connected. This is the problem with technology. This is Alina's computer, but she's got the new screen, and then my kid's on these iPad. I don't know. It's a dog here running around. There's all kinds of stuff. I don't know. Alina sets it up for me. She goes, here, you go talk to Harry. But Harry, let me ask you, because I think you were at the time of comedy that sort of, and everybody has that idea, but we had shows like I'm Dying Up Here, which was an era that you knew that time.
That was like the 70s. I came in the 80s.
80s, right? But you came right after that.
82. I started in 82. But the 80s was like this golden age. You know what I mean? Everyone, comedy clubs were just booming, and everyone was getting deals. I mean, back in the day, there was so many industry people, so many showcases, where producers from TV shows would come down and watch, like, maybe 5 to 10 comics in a row, and then decide who was going to get, a deal or be cast in something, a show or a movie or whatnot. It was an exciting time. Everybody had something going on, Every comic.
After you did the thing, and then Rodney, you had a really cool. You opened for him for years.
Yeah, I got in the special, and like I said, I got a little heat from it. Nothing great, because I really didn't get to do my full act. You know what I mean? I only got to do a little bit of it. But like, Kennison became a superstar, and Bob Nelson became really hot on the East Coast and was selling out. I hadn't heard from Rodney. And after he did 2 more specials, like I said, his were so high rated. HBO, even though they continued doing the Young Comedian specials, they gave Rodney his own special every year. Same format. He would pick 5 guys or gals, and the next one I think had Roseanne in it, and Jeff Altman, and Jeff Townsend, and not Jeff Townsend, Robert Townsend, Jeff Altman, and Jerry Seinfeld. You know what I mean? Wow. And then the third one had Robert Schimmel, Lenny Clark, Andrew Dice Clay was the breakout star from that one. So these were really high rated. And after he did 3 of them, he wanted to do a live show down in Long Beach, Rodney Dangerfield and Friends. And it was myself, Bob Saget, Robert Schimmel, and I believe Barry Sobel. And it's the first time Rodney saw my whole act. And he asked me to open for him after that. And as I was on the road with him, I do one date, wouldn't hear from him for a while. And then he'd call out of the blue. I thought, maybe he didn't like me or whatever. I just realized he wasn't working. Hey man, you want to do Vegas with me? You want to do this? You want to do that? And we were playing Valley Forge in Pennsylvania, and he gave me 2 treatments that he wrote, and he asked me to read them, which one I liked best. And one was where he was a ad executive who discovered this perfume that made him irresistible to women. And then the other one was he was an owner of an Italian restaurant in Little Italy, was singing waiters, and he falls in love with a waitress, and she tells him that she can only love a man who can sing opera. And he goes to Italy to learn how to sing, and then he discovers this wine that gives him this amazing voice like Pavarotti. And I said, I love the opera one. I just thought it was romantic and great. And he goes, man, so do I. Can you believe they hired 2 writers to write the other one? And he goes, do you want to write a longer treatment with me, you know? So he gave me like 10 grand to write this 35-page treatment. And first he said to me, hey man, you like movies, you know about movie making and writing? And I said, well, I just read a book on screenwriting, you know? Steve Odekirk gave me
Sid Field or Sid
what?
Field?
No. It was called How to Write a Movie in 21 Days. and Steve Odekirk, who's a famous comic and director and a famous screenwriter, you know, he wrote both Ace Ventura movies and Patch Adams and the Thumb movies and stuff like that. He's brilliant writer. He gave me the screenwriting program and this book. And so I read the book in less than 21 days. But I said, yeah, I know how to write a screenplay. And so we wrote this treatment, and he kept saying to me, man, I'm not going to give you credit because it's my idea. But I didn't care. I was making 10 grand. And after we wrote 35-page treatment, he goes, man, you want to just write the script? And I said, yeah, sure. He goes, I'll give you another 20 G's, right? So I use this money to buy my first house. So I write the script with him, and it's a really adorable script, and I added a lot to it. And at the end, he said, man, you added so much, I'm going to give you writing credit on this, right? And so we tried to get this movie made, and it was, this was like in 99, I think. No, this was in 90 and 92, because we wound up doing Ladybugs, and this project got shelved. So Ladybugs came along, somebody sent him the script. He asked me to read it, and I liked it, and I had a bunch of funny ideas. So he said to the producers, hey, my friend Harry has some ideas, you know? So here I am going to this meeting with Albert S. Ruddy, who autographed this for me. Al Ruddy produced The Godfather and $1 Million Baby. And he won
a little film called The Godfather.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's his autograph right there. I did a couple of movies with Al. So here I am going to this pitch meeting with him and Sidney Furie and Gray Fredrickson, who produced all of Coppola's movies. And I pitched my ideas, and they want to hire me to rewrite the script with Rodney. And I got to join the Writers Guild that way. And then got to be a producer on that movie and got to see how a movie was made. And it was like a dream come true. And then like 5 years later, we wound up making The Fourth Tenor, and Rodney let me direct it. So it was like my first movie that I got to direct in like 2001. It was a real thrill. So he was like a dad. We were writing partners. He was.
I wanted to say, what is he like in real life? Because
if I wanted to really show you, I'd have to show you my testicles, because Rodney was always naked in front of me. He would wear a robe
out all the time. Yeah,
and the robe couldn't close because he had this like little basketball belly. So it would always come untied, and you would always see his balls. And it was kind of like a grandfather clock, you know, that they were just like the balls were swinging back and forth, you know, the bottom of a grandfather clock. But he was so cool. He loved comedians, and he loved to help comics. He would see like a tape. He saw a tape of Otto and George and was like, man, I wish I had a special or a movie going that I could use him. He always loved to discover talent and to you know, put people in things, you know.
But Harry, don't you find Rodney really opened the doors for a lot of people, including yourself? You know, I mean, now
you know, Dice and Sam never would have gotten any TV credit
if it wasn't for him.
And it's not like they would have just approached them and said, hey, here's your HBO special or your Showtime special. The fact that they got to do 10 minutes on his special got them their own specials, and then they were both filling arenas right after that,
Shortly after, because nowadays it's interesting because I think as comedians, I find that, you try to make your own way, you try to get into places, but you don't really have anybody like a Rodney that everybody respected so much, because like you said, Roseanne, Jim Carrey, all those people really got the door opening from him, because like you said, he was such a fan of comedy. But I see that in you too. Not only you're a fan of comedy, you're an amazing comedian yourself, but you're also a student of it. And I know you're a big Jerry Lewis fan, and I know, even hanging in the legendary green room that Harry has at the Laugh Factory, and we have karaoke because we do karaoke. And another thing about Harry that people don't know, because I can say this now in our thing, is you're an amazing cook.
Oh yeah.
And he makes his moussaka. And I got to tell you this story. I'm going to tell the story, Harry. So Harry makes moussaka, right? Delicious, man. I mean, he makes all kinds of Greek food. And I'm like, hey, Ange, I made this for you because I know you're here this week. And I'm in the green room, and there's a guy there with his wife. And Harry's wife, they were there. I was just in the green room. Hey, how you doing? I didn't know they were there from the Murray the Magician show, the other show. And the guy's sitting there, and long hair, and we're talking. And how you doing? It's my wife Cindy. My name's Robbie. Hey, nice to meet you. This and that. Was it Robbie? And then Harry comes in with moussaka. He puts it down, and then Harry goes to me, hey, Ange, who's that guy? And I said, well, I don't know. So Harry left, and then remember and I came back and go, hey, it's great. Who you're here with? He goes, oh no, we're just here. We came to see Murray. And he gives me his card. He goes, he was in a band called Kansas.
Yeah. What is it, Robbie?
Dust in the Wind. He wrote the fucking song, and he does the violin in it. I go, you're the dude. So Harry comes back in, and he goes, oh, because you're so hospitable in the green room. That's your, and that's the Greek part of you that I love. It's like, hey, you're in my house. We're gonna eat,
right?
You're gonna. I mean, that I know is the Greek part of you. But then Harry goes to me afterwards. Hey, who's that guy? I go, he's the dude from Kansas. He wrote and plays the violin on Dust in the Wind. And he goes, oh, that's cool. And he had a couple of helpings. And they stayed. No, yeah,
he hung out for a little bit, which cool. First, I thought it was your friend, and then now I'm saying I was friends with Murray. Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun to cook. I wish there was a kitchen in the green room so I could actually prepare.
That'd be great.
You know what I mean? But it's I love to cook at home and then bring it. When there's particular when Dom Irera is there, I'll cook Italian food, and for you.
But your moussaka is good.
Thank you.
His moussaka, and you made Yemi Snipe makes the stuffed peppers and tomatoes. There are a few dishes that you put out.
Yeah, now I know how to make dolmades, and then I'll make keftedes. I can make baklava. I'm always trying different things.
That's not easy.
Yeah.
Greek cooking is not easy.
I can make lemon soup, but that's not something you bring to the club. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People would like, because let's be honest, it kind of tastes like vomit, like when you throw up in your mouth. That's what Greek soup tastes like, but it's delicious. Oh, but this is what I was going to say to you before. We were talking about Rodney always used to say that his making it, because he made it later in life. It wasn't like the Beatles doing one show and Ed Sullivan and you're like superstars the next day. He did Merv Griffin, he did Sullivan, he did a bunch of those. Then the Tonight Show, Michael Douglas Show, all of those shows. And then I would say Caddyshack really made him a household name, and then Easy Money and Back to School. But back in the 80s, you could do like the Tonight Show or Letterman or, one of those HBO specials and get some heat. And if you did a number of them, you could sell tickets. And then I don't know what is out there now that can help comics do that. Chelsea Lately, that was a good show for comics to go on. And then they were selling to Love, Josh Wolf. Those guys were selling tickets after being on there. The Dry Bar specials, those are good. You know, the comics can say, hey, I got a dry bar special, or send a link and stuff like that. I think there's only a handful of guys who have gone viral, but there are some guys that are doing it on their own now, you know, on TikTok and Instagram, and putting little snippets on there, kind of like the way Russell was like what they attributed to YouTube, right? So he did this
Original.
He did this one special, and it had all this material, and then they cut it up into bits, and each one went viral, and he became huge. Dane Cook was like the MySpace guy, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's always some type of medium. So it's harder today and easier today, because you could just do something with this. It's your own little studio, do something and post it, and all of a sudden that could go viral. You know, like look at, I don't know if you know a guy from the East Coast, Vic DiBattista.
Yes.
You know, yeah. He's got this video that went like, it's got, I don't know how many millions and millions of views.
A milk and bread video.
Going, they say snow. I got to get the bread and milk. I got to get the bread and milk. They say snow. I got to get the bread and milk. And he just goes nuts. And it went viral, and he's selling out on the East Coast, you know, from, you know, the whole, from Boston down to Florida, you know, he's just selling out. And it's great to see that somebody in their late 50s or 60s could all of a sudden get some heat like that, you know?
But don't you find, Harry, it's interesting because even on the YouTube channels now that people, because there's so many things, when I did my Showtime special, that was in 2011, and that was good. But it was also at the time where we were starting to go to streaming. So people were, you know, that's when they said, if you did a special like that, it was on Showtime, and then it would go to, your videos would go to, like, you'd sell them at Walmart or at, you know, at Target. And then what happened is this guy named Ted Sarandos started this thing called Netflix, and then all of a sudden it went to streaming. So even for comedians now to sell merchandise, we used to be able to sell DVDs and CDs. Nobody buys them anymore because everything's streamed. Yeah, you know. So that's why what you're saying, I think I agree, is that even with YouTube now, it only takes one or two things to get hot. Yeah, and people start following you, you know. But it's finding
I used to buy DVDs all the time, you know. And I remember I would take my son is like 28 now, but we'd go to the movies and we'd watch a Pixar movie or an adventure film. And as soon as the movie was over, he would go, "Dad, can we get this when it comes out on DVD?" And I go, "Yeah." And I can't remember the last DVD I actually bought, you know. Yeah. And we have a shitload of DVDs. I mean, we have like maybe 300-400 DVDs. And then I've got hundreds and hundreds of screeners, because I'm in the Writers Guild, the Directors Guild, and the Screen Actors Guild. And I get all those screeners sent to me, and we'll watch those, but it's like a pain in the ass for us to turn on the DVD player. And all you do is put the DVD in, and it automatically goes on, and then turn the power off, and it's not on anymore. But it's like a pain in the ass. My wife would rather stream, you know. But yeah, you know, Andrew, I've been thinking about that. Like, comics are allowed to sell merchandise now, starting last night. And I know comics have DVDs and CDs, right? But it's like, people don't want to really buy those anymore. And they don't want to buy T-shirts seem to still do well. I don't know why people want to buy T-shirts, but if you have a funny T-shirt, like, who's going to buy a T-shirt with just a picture of you on it if you're not famous? Like, Jimmy Walker can sell one and it says Dynamite on it, and it's him as JJ, you know, or Tom Wilson could sell one of Biff, you know, hello, anybody home, or whatever, butthead. You know, you're going to want that. That's cool, right? For years, I always told Jerry Bednoff he needs to have a T-shirt that says "Go fuck a goat," you know, like "Go fuck a goat," you know. He didn't want to do it. I don't want to meet people. He goes, I don't want to see anybody, you know, so he didn't want to do merch. But a lot of guys make a lot of money selling merchandise. I think if you have a bunch of old CDs and DVDs, you need to have something else that they might want and just throw that in with it.
And make it like a sweetener. Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about it now, because it's like, you know, that stuff's nobody's really buying it. And the T-shirt, you know what I hate about the T-shirts, Harry, is that you gotta drag that stuff around with you in an extra suitcase. And then if you go to a city like Chicago, everybody's 4X.
Yeah. But you know what? Thumb drives, like a comedian, I feel terrible because I haven't watched it yet, but a comedian, a local comic came by and dropped off their card and a little thumb drive. Their set is on it, you know? So that's a great
That's
way.
not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's better to send a link to get booked, you know, it's just a lot quicker and easier. But if you want to sell something to somebody and you have your card or, you know, a book or something else, I think you need to package some of your merch today if comics want to do it, you know?
Hey, Harry, let me ask you, because, you know, we had this thing called the pandemic and it really, you know, this thing.
Pandemic, from the Greek word, pandalokikas, which is from the Greek word. Name any word. Any word. Yeah.
And I'm going to give you the root of it is Greek.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is that I think right now we're going to see a surge for comedy again.
Oh,
a big, I mean, and I know you're opening up. It's happening now that people are coming out, like aged up, right? But it's like, are you finding that's what the case is now? Because I know
we just went to 100% occupancy, and people really want to come out. They're not wearing masks. Everybody's just walking in. I mean, a lot of people are vaccinated, which is good. And but in the casino, no one's wearing a mask. We always have it. I'll always wear it, like when I go in an elevator or something like that. In the green room, almost all the comics have been vaccinated, so we all kind of hang out, you know. Right. But we had our first get together on Saturday night, and it was nice. And some people had their masks on. Jamie Kennedy did. He kept his mask on. But we opened up the door to the club, so people were hanging out in the club and in the green room, and we did a little karaoke. It was fun.
The karaoke is fun.
Yeah,
I like that. I love it because you go to the green room and we have the show, and usually on Saturday, and you got comics coming from on. You're inviting about it too, especially in Vegas, and we get to hang out and sing and have a couple of drinks. It's a lot of fun, and I like that camaraderie that you still bring to it, because I find even in LA now, what happens if you go do a set at the Factory in Hollywood, or if you go to Comedy Magic, what happens a lot of times is that you do your set and everybody's in a hurry to go somewhere. Nobody hangs out. Back in the day, we used to watch the masters do it. We will stay and watch them.
Yeah. We used to hang out in the 80s. Well, first of all, in the 80s, like you were either a Comedy Store guy or you were an improv guy. Mitzi kind of had a little boundary war where, like, you know, if you became established at her club, she didn't want you going over and playing Bud's room, right? And but the New York guys could do it, like Dom Irera and some of the guys that already were New York comics and played the improv. They wound up being able to do both. But a lot of us would hang out. You know, we just stay at the club, like you said, stick around to watch Paul Mooney or Kennison late at night, or Richard when he came in. Then we would go hang out at Ben Frank's, which is now Mel's Diner on the Strip, or we would go on Fairfax to Cantor's. And then a lot of times we would go to midnight movies, a lot of comics. You know what I mean? We were like, hey, this opens tonight at midnight. Let's go on Hollywood Boulevard and go watch a midnight movie. It was fun, you know? And then there was like this Thai restaurant that was open till like 4 a.m. over on Western or and Sunset or something like that. It was fun. You know, we all kind of hung out, looked out for each other and stuff like that. But there's still that, you know, you've got the
still there. No, it is.
Yeah, you know, I think like working with somebody like Russell, he's really cool and brings everyone along, and hey, let's all go out, and you know, he's really generous like that, you know.
He is. But here, let me ask you, because in the 90s, here's interesting about comedy. I never labeled myself Greek Canadian comedian Angelo Tsougas. And really in the 80s, I don't know of any other Greek American comedians other than yourself that I know of that were doing it. So this whole ethnic comedy thing with Russell, you know, with Joe Coy. I mean, that all started up brewing in the 90s, late 90s going on. And all of a sudden, Italians, you know, and you know what I'm saying, Harry? And like now, even with Greek Americans, can like Basil, like myself, like yourself.
There's a fan base for, like, for instance, I never got into, like, because I don't really talk about being Greek on stage, but I am Greek. I'm, you know, both sides of my family, my yaya, my papu, everyone, you know, is from Greek. I just took one of those DNA tests and it says I have some Italian and some Turkish in there or whatever. But I've always said I was 100% Greek because I knew both my parents were Greek. They married each other. Their parents were Greek. Their grandparents and their great grandparents were all Greeks, you know. But there are comics that have an audience, like, you know, there's the Hindu comics that their fan base will come out, Iranian, Persian, Greeks, Italian. I know you've done a couple of Greek shows with a couple of other Greeks, and you could do a tour. They'll come out. You know, if you advertise it at the churches or whatnot, or certain markets like in Chicago or Detroit that have Greek areas, you know what I mean? The people will come out. I mean, there's a lot of Greeks here in Vegas. Whenever you're
even in Vegas,
this is so funny. I know you've done jokes about this, but I called the Silver Legacy. Angelo's going to be at the Reno Laugh Factory next week, so I always call and go, all right, I just checking on the comedians. You know, next week they're not coming in on Thursday; they're coming in on you know, Tuesday now. So I'm starting to say the names, you know, and your week, one after another. Well, Christine Von Hagen, right? So I'm going Von Hagen, Noel, like Christmas Santa, El Grably, like you grab something, you know. All right, I saved the worst one for the end. I go, Angelo, Syracuse. She's going, what? I'm trying to spell it. Once I said it's Greek, she goes, oh, okay. Then she understood. Like, she understood it more. But I had to spell it out. I had to, and then I'm trying to think what sounds like a rock, Syracuse. Nothing. You know, there was nothing to rhyme it, you know.
But we got a Jew, a German, and a Greek.
Yeah.
on the show in Reno. That's a great room. But it's so funny, like the combinations that you can put together, and everybody kind of talks a little bit about it, right? But with me, I mean, I'm used to it now. That's why I make a joke about it. Syracuse. How do you spell it? And then I realized a long time ago, it's better, don't change that, make fun with it. And people, they remember you by it. They go, oh yeah, you're the guy with the fucking weird name, right?
Yeah, one time, this is how old I am. I was at the Starbucks a couple of years ago in the Tropicana. And she goes, what name do I put in? I said, Harry. Barry, and I go, Harry, like Dirty Harry or Harry Harry Truman. And the young girl goes, Harry Potter. And I was like, yeah, fuck, what the Harry Potter. Yeah. But here I am going, Harry Truman and Dirty Harry. That's my way of, like, you know, letting someone know what my name was.
You know what I do? You know what I do sometimes, guys at Starbucks? You know, when they ask you your name, I give them names like Octavio or Adolf. And the girls at Starbucks over here in Laurel Canyon, Adolf.
Yeah.
Latte for Adolf. He's the only
or Hitler would just, I mean, that would really be extreme.
Hitler.
Hear them scream that out. You know what I mean?
That's always part of the fun, though, isn't it? It's been and the good, you see, guys, if you play in Vegas, especially in Harry's room in Vegas, you have, like, I mean, the people have done residencies there now. Louie Anderson, Roseanne Barr.
Yeah, Louie's gonna do a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, starting in
nice
July, late July. And
right.
John Lovitz is going to do 9 days in Rich Little's spot.
Wow.
I was going to say Rich Little, who's a legend.
Yeah. Hey, Rich Little was just on Jane Pauley, CBS Sunday Morning. It was a great episode. They interviewed him at his home. They came to the club and interviewed him at the club and showed him on stage. It was wonderful. It's great national exposure.
So Harry, you got to ask you this because it is called Connecting Greeks. We're connecting. You and Lar were for the first time got to go to Greece just a couple of years ago.
3 years ago for our 30th anniversary.
For your 30th anniversary. Now, I know your family's from Samos.
My mom's family is Samos, and my father's family is Ios.
From Ios. Nice. Yes. Island of Sex. iOS. Ios.
I've never been.
But what was your impression going for the first time? Because you said, I like the story you told me that you met relatives that you had never met.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
And they knew you.
First, we went to Athens, and I felt so bad that I didn't reach out to my Aunt Poppy because she just passed away, rest her soul. And she literally lived like 3 blocks from the hotel we were at. And she had a beautiful apartment that, overlooked Mount Olympus and near the Plaka. And I really wish I had gone and seen her. But we had a wonderful time in Athens for about four nights. And then we went to Samos, and I got to see some relatives that I've never met before. And I remember my yaya would always go visit, and she would steal my little brother, and my toys and take them to the cousins. And one of the cousins, Stavros, he had this little Evel Knievel doll. Like, she took the Evel Knievel doll.
Still had it.
Didn't bring the motorcycle. He still had it. Yeah. He could probably sell it on eBay. But anyway, so it was so nice to see them and to have lunch with them. And then they showed us the church that my yaya and Makatina, my great aunt, they helped build the church, and they were a big part of the community. And it was just wonderful. We loved Samos. It was a very green island. And
beautiful island.
Yeah. And, Laura, my wife, whenever we go on a vacation, especially in Europe, she just wants to go sightseeing. So I would love to just relax on the beach sometimes, but it was always just go. Let's go see this church. Let's go see that. And then we went to Santorini, and there we got to relax because we went on one of those catamarans that they take you out, and it's like unlimited booze, and they cook for you, and it's like maybe 4 or 5 hours. So that was fun to be able to swim and take in some sun. And then so we did Athens, Samos, Santorini, and then we flew to Italy and did Bellagio.
Nice.
So that was fun, which is very close. You know what I mean? To
Athens, not far at all.
Like a half an hour flight. It's like flying from LA to San Francisco.
But how good, Harry, the food in Greece?
It was amazing.
You smell the salads coming to you at the table.
The salads, the tomatoes, just everything. The produce was so incredible. The seafood, it was great.
Especially in Samos, seafood.
Yeah, and I didn't find it that expensive. I thought it was reasonable. The hotels were expensive, like in Santorini, because we stayed we got a really beautiful suite, had an amazing view. But it was great. I can't wait to go back. Yeah, so next year is our 35th anniversary. So I said, let's go back again.
Gotta go to Greece. You know what? Everybody should, and not because we're Greek. It's got nothing to do with it. Everybody should go to Greece once in their life.
Yeah.
When I used to be a travel agent, I tell them that. They go, really? I go, you can go anywhere, but it's the only destination. And Santorini really is a destination on itself now. It's one of the most sought after places to go on the earth. Everybody wants to go there, so well, that's great. I mean, what we usually do, Harry, we get to the time where we can wrap things up now because it's already been 55 minutes. We just
Angelo, before we get to that segment, he did such a good Robert De Niro. Can we hear just a couple of your favorite impressions? Like,
oh my God!
Anything you're proud of? Anything you like? Anything De
Niro's awesome.
Fun? Anything that's fun for you?
What? Well, I would love to do Jerry Lewis for you. And I am going to do the Jerry Lewis, the telethon Jerry Lewis, the genius, the marvelous filmmaker. Fleiben Schmeiben. Oh, you know what was cool? Jerry's daughter, Danielle, came to karaoke, and hung out at our party, and she has an amazing voice. You know,
wow.
yeah, I think she's like 28, lovely young lady, and Jerry's only daughter. And it must be kind of cool for her to sit in the green room and to see all the memorabilia.
Did you have all that stuff?
Yeah, I have a lot of
that stuff, Harry. I know you're really a big fan.
I bought his dartboard that he had in his playroom, and that's out in the hallway. And she authenticated it and autographed it and gave me a letter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
that's awesome. Because I know you have that. Is it a sort of a wax thing of Jerry Lewis? What is it? I think. No, is it you? No, where have I seen it? It's
well, there's a statue. There's a statue in the Hollywood Laugh Factory of Dean and Jerry upstairs.
That's where
and that was supposed to come to the club in Vegas because we were going to book Jerry, and then he got ill, and we were going to dedicate the Dean and Jerry bar and the two statues, but they're gigantic. It's like, do you remember that Laurel and Hardy movie, March of the Wooden Soldiers?
Yeah.
Okay, so like I think they had ordered like 100 1-foot soldiers, and they wound up getting like 10-foot soldiers instead, and they used them to like. Well, the guy who made these statues, thank you for making them, but he made them gigantic. They're like 6 feet tall. They're huge. And Laura goes, "You're not bringing those fucking things to the club. We've got enough shit there already. And I don't know where we would put them. They're just so big." So when Jerry died and Jamie did a tribute on the marquee, the news came down and interviewed myself and Tom Dreesen and a couple of other comedians, and we had them delivered there so they could see the Dean and Jerry statues. Which is
right.
Cool. But yeah, we have a lot of memorabilia, at the club.
That's so cool.
Listen to this. Murray the magician got me something, and I guess we could talk about it now.
Sure.
But we went to this auction that was at Jerry's house after his wife sold the house. So it wasn't her house anymore. This other woman who owned it had an auction and just had some Jerry Lewis memorabilia, some of the furniture that was left behind. The dartboard was still there. And then she had like a bunch of art that she was selling. Well, we got to walk through the house, Murray and I got to go into his bathroom and sit on the toilet, and Murray took a picture of me, like on the toilet covering my privates with my pants down. Because how often do you get a picture of yourself on Jerry Lewis's toilet, right? So then that night, Murray got the dartboard for me. He stayed and bid on it and got it for me. And
cool.
I gave him a check for it. And then he gives me this gift in a Ziploc bag. And he goes, "This is for you. It's from Jerry's house." And I'm going, "Oh, wow." And I go to open it. And he goes, "Don't touch it. It's not clean." And I go, "Okay, what is it?" And it was brass, and it looked like the top of a salt or pepper shaker. It was the nozzle to Jerry's bidet.
Oh,
Screwed it. So this was the nozzle to the bidet that's been cleaning Jerry Lewis's asshole for like 20 years that he lived in that house. So I just love it. It's such a great gift to have. And Murray goes, make a coat hanger or put it on a plaque or something like that. But it's just a cool thing to have.
oh man.
And I always forget about it. It's in a junk drawer, and I'll go, "Oh, that's Jerry Lewis's bidet nozzle,"
That's so, Harry. Before I pass it off to Forty, if you had a dream show that you would want to be on with 4 other comedians, what would it be?
Oh, wow.
I mean, but past, present, future, doesn't matter.
Well, I've been on it with Rodney, Richard, and Robin. That was it.
See, that alone. You're right. That alone is like just those 3 guys.
But,
Rodney.
But
Robin,
who knows who else was on earlier? Kennison. Kennison could have been on later on. Louie could have been on earlier. Got to work with Shanling, who was fucking brilliant. I love Gary Shanling, And sometimes I would go on in the main room, and all my props, like the show was supposed to be over. There used to be 2 shows in the main room. Now it's like one long show. No, I think they have different shows now. So when I knew I was closing, I would just leave all my props on the floor. And then sometimes I'd walk through the curtain and, Eddie Murphy was about to go on. So I'd have to pop back out and bring him on, or Robin was going to go on. And Robin would go on, and I'm standing in the back of the room in my Rocky trunks because my pants are on stage and my props are all over the floor. And Robin would use my props. He would just pick them up and he'd put on a hat or whatever. Everything wound up by his penis, though. It was like, oh, look at this. You know what I mean? Oh, giant penis.
Amazing.
But it was so cool to stand in the back and watch him use all of my silly little props and be brilliant with them, just improvise with them. So that was fun. It was fun times back in the day. But look, it's like that now. You can go on in the main room and all of a sudden have Bill Burr go on after you, or Sebastian. I mean, some legendary.
Sometimes Chappelle shows up even at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood,
awesome.
or there's all kinds.
The Store and the Laugh Factory are like that in Hollywood, and then in New York, the Comedy Cellar. You don't know who's going to stop in there.
Who's going to pop in?
Guys.
Cool. Well, 40.
Oh man, what a line!
So
yeah, I mean, this has been a pleasure, Harry. Just listening to you guys and just sitting back. I've been reminiscing growing up as a kid in the 80s and 90s, and then growing up in a Greek household.
Where in Massachusetts are you?
In Boston.
Okay, because I think my mom had relatives in, I don't know if I'm saying it right,
Marblehead?
Marblehead?
Yeah, Marblehead, yeah.
Marblehead, yeah.
There are a lot of Greeks there, I think.
Oh yeah.
Well, a lot of Greeks who made it big moved out of Boston with the Marblehead.
Yeah, so she would always go up there and visit, up in Marblehead, and I guess there were.
It's a beautiful
somehow, I don't know.
Beautiful coastal town that is well worth a visit. It's definitely New Englandish when you go to Marblehead. But what I wanted to mention is that, growing up as a Greek and as a Greek American in a Greek household, I would have to wait for my parents to go to bed so that I can come downstairs and watch the HBO specials with, you mentioned, Andrew Dice and Sam Kinison and Rodney Dangerfield, because obviously the content wasn't appropriate. So I have to wait for everyone to go to sleep and then come downstairs. And I would watch these specials that would always stay with me. And now listening to the both of you is just like reminiscing those times back in the 80s and 90s, which was programming that we'll probably never ever see again.
How old are you?
I'm 40, gonna be 48.
You look older.
I am older. I lied. I'm 50.
You look older. You look older.
But yeah, no. This was a special treat, and Angela, you always keep making it better and better on each episode that we bring guests on. And it's also a pride factor that, being Greek now that we can mention that, we know Harry Basil.
Greeks meet other Greeks, and it's like you found a long lost relative.
Right? Long lost relative, isn't it? It is. Even when I play in Vegas, they show up, they wait. Yeah. They'll wait. You're Greek, you speak Greek. They love it. They love it.
And then you find somebody that you have a connection with through some family-friendly route that, makes us, related or connected in some sense, right?
Years ago, really quick, I did a show I did a club in Utah, and I was only a comic for like a year, and I got a headlining date in Utah, and I didn't have enough material, and I used to end with flash dance, and I had this welder's hat, and there used to be those crazy glue commercials where the guy would like glue himself to a beam, and he had a hard hat on with a piece of wood, and he would hang on like he's hanging, his feet are dangling, right? So I used to travel with a fucking blowtorch. Like today you couldn't take that in an airplane, right? And this was all the setup to go into the whole flash dance thing with the music, like I'm a welder, but my dream was to be a dancer, and then the music would come on, right? So, What a Feeling song. So I thought, I have to stretch. So I'd put this, I do the hat and I go, does anyone have any crazy glue? Just throwaway line. So some woman goes, I do. I guess women would carry it in the purse because of their nails. So she throws it up on stage, and it's one of those tubes with a pin in it, right? So there was a bald guy in the front row I kept fucking with all night. So I go, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what happens when we apply some crazy glue to the top of this bald man's head. It dripped out of the side onto his head, and he went like this. What the fuck? And his finger was glued to his head. He's screaming at me, right? This could have got in my eye. I'm going to fucking sue you. I'm like scared shit. It's the end of my act. I'm about to go into this music bit. I'm like, does anybody have any nail polish? I like to turn to Jerry Lewis. Like, does anybody have any nail polish remover to help the man get this finger off his head? You know? And he finally ripped it off and flesh from his finger was stuck to his head. I'm like, this guy's going to beat me up after the show. I'm doing the whole music ending, and all I'm thinking of is this guy's pissed. He's looking at his wife, and they're arguing, right? She's going, calm down, calm down. After the show, I meet him, and I apologize to him, and I go, sir, what's your name? And he says it, and so it's a Greek last name. And I go, well, you know, Vasiliou, I'm Greek, and what island is your family from? And he's like, he hugs me, and it's like, he completely forgot about it. It was all, it's okay. You're Greek, it's okay. You know, so thank God.
I lost my finger, but you're Greek.
Yeah. But you know, that's the whole thing about, you know, a Greek. I left out the part that I let him fuck me in the ass, but that's another story. That's another. It wasn't a Greek thing. It wasn't even a Greek thing.
Harry, who's the dwarf, you know, in Vegas, the Greek guy, your buddy? Is it Panayotti?
The little person, Demos. He's great.
Demos is a little guy. Is he a magician? What's he do?
No, he's just an actor, and he's also ordained. He's ordained. And like he's a handsome guy. Really good-looking guy.
Good-looking dwarf.
And Karen, his wife is beautiful. She's blonde.
A little person. My wife's is a dwarf or little person? Am I saying it right?
He's a little person. He likes
little person. I thought dwarf was the right way to say it. My bad. I didn't know.
Angelo, you're offending Footy right now.
It's going to be called canceling Greeks now.
No, you have to, because there isn't. One has more white meat than the other. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. That's terrible. Terrible.
We're Greek. It's okay.
But it's fun because we've hung out with them, and they look like if we wore the same clothes. Like, remember that gag on Jackass where the big guy goes in and says, "Can you watch my dog?" And then a little person comes out. I forgot the guy on Jackass. What's his name? Not Mini Me. Wee Man comes out dressed exactly the same as the big guy that went in and takes the dog and goes, "Thanks a lot." And then the people are like, "What the hell, you know, was that?" But they look like, you know, doubles of us. You know what I mean? But he's great. He's come to see you. He's come to see you before.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Demos.
Yeah. Very heavy Greek accent.
Wow. Footy, you can ask
when I say I know a little Greek, I actually know a little Greek.
A little Greek guy.
So, Harry, we have 3 questions for you before we let you go.
Okay.
3 questions that actually allow us as Greek Americans to get to know you better as a Greek. You mentioned about cooking and you love to cook Greek food. Can you tell us, Harry, your favorite and least favorite Greek food?
I don't think I like the taramusalata. What is it? Like the caviar?
Salata? Yeah.
I don't like that. And I would say my favorite Greek food, it's a toss-up between domas and moussaka. And I never, you know what? I know that I had moussaka when I was a kid, but my yaya used to make pastichou. But when I went to Athens and I had a really authentic moussaka, that's when I had it like maybe 5 times in Greece. And then when I came home, I started making it. I even made a keto version a week ago. Instead of the bechamel, I just put like, you know, mozzarella and parm on top, you know.
Oh,
nice.
Tarama,
so that's my favorite Greek food.
So tarama is the first one we have for out of all of our guests that it's a no-no.
That's
and I don't like, this is not food, but I never liked uzu. I never liked the.
I'm a big fan of it either.
Did you have a bad experience, or is it just not this?
I just didn't like the taste of it.
Licoricey.
I'm not a liquor guy anyway. I'm not a liquor guy anyway. You know? Although I liked the Greek beer, I forgot it had an A on it.
Alpha.
Alpha.
Greece. Yeah, it was excellent. We loved it.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So, mention your yaya, Harry. You know, growing up with a yaya in the household, I'm sure you were subject to a lot of Greek sayings. Any Greek sayings that you can share with us that you might remember?
Christou de porta. Close the door, right?
Yes.
Walking out, make sure, Oh, one time the kids left the door open and a squirrel came in the house and sat right in front of her. And Yaya would sit in that big rocking chair, and she lived in the country for like 60 years and still barely spoke English, And sometimes you'd be talking about something, you go, yeah, I need to finish this now. Fish? She'd go she just blurt out food, right? So she's sitting there, moping in the chair, and the squirrel comes in front of her and starts doing this. She screams at the top of her lung, Busco, Busco, you know what I mean? Which I guess is mouse, right? Or Busco? Have you ever heard of that? How do you say mouse in Greek?
Bodiki?
Bodiki.
Well, what's Busco? What about rat?
Oh, probably.
Rodent? I don't know, but
one of those.
What is squirrel? She screamed Busco. So I used to scare her after that. I would tie fishing wire to socks, and I kind of drag them across the room. I was so cruel to her. This was before I was common. I had a rubber hand for one of the movies that I was making. I was making a dummy, and I was in the kitchen with a big knife, and I was cutting something. Just going, stack out. Be careful, be careful. And I'm going like this, and she's going, careful, careful. And I chop and I scream and I throw the hand on the floor, and I was going, papa, papa. I was terrible.
Oh my God.
Jokes on her all the time.
She could have had a heart attack.
But I always remember close the door was something she would always scream at us all the time. We have nothing.
We have nothing. Awesome. And the last thing, Harry, before we let you go is, as Greeks and growing up as in our culture, we're pretty superstitious people.
Yeah.
Is there any superstition that your family lived by, or something that you to this
Just
day
doing this after everything? You know what I mean? Yeah. And then
Yeah, that's fitting. For the evil eye, for the eye.
When you see a beautiful child or whatever, or I think they did. I think Nia did that in
the
scene where they're walking down the aisle.
They still do it.
Everybody was spitting. Yeah,
they still do it.
All Greeks, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Harry,
I'll spit in my wife's face when she looks really good when we're getting ready to go out, and she doesn't get mad at me because she considers it a compliment.
Nice.
Well, I mean, Harry, this has been so fun, such a pleasure. I was looking at your resume earlier, and it's like such cool things. If you actually have any links or anything that we could post to the episode, please let me know.
You know what I should tell you about, which is pretty wild, Angelo. I don't even think I ever told you this, but there's an episode of Give Me a Break that I was on. Okay.
What?
Yeah, and it still airs. I get a check every once in a while. I think now you can stream these shows. The episode is called The Purse Snatcher. Okay. And it was, I think, the second to last season. And the episode was my pilot. I was signed to a deal with NBC, Angelo.
Oh, wow.
And it was directed by Hal Cooper, legendary TV director, and the writers of the Nell Carter, Give Me a Break show wrote it. And basically, she goes into a Greek restaurant, and I'm Nikki Papalardo, and it was my series. And Brian Backer plays my best friend. He was the kid in the nerdy kid who worked at the movie theater and Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh,
Yeah. And then this character actor, he's been in a lot of movies, played my father. He was Israeli, but he was always played Greeks. And it just aired as an episode, but it was supposed to be my pilot. You know what I mean? So I'm in the whole episode. And they thought it could be a series. I knew it couldn't. I wanted to set it in a video store. Video stores were popular then,
right.
Like Plus, and I don't even think Blockbuster was out yet. This was in the early 80s. Because my whole act was movies. I'm like, I'd rather have it be something like that. But if you get a chance, it's the whole episode is me being Greek, which is cool. Because the only time I've ever played Greek, The Purse Snatcher. Give Me a Break. Yeah.
Give me a break. I gotta watch it.
Yeah. That's so cool. Well, again, Harry, we want to thank you so much for taking.
Scotty, thank you, guys.
And again, any links, any information, please forward, and we're gonna put it with the podcast and the video. And thank you everybody out there for watching another episode. Harry is awesome dude.
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you.
And everybody, thank you again. Co-host Forte, thank you. Angelo, you're awesome as always. Harry, once again, thanks for your time.
And listen, next time Ange plays the club, you guys should come out and visit and hang in Vegas.
Good. That'd be cool, especially in Vegas. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait, man. Things are opening up. Hopefully we start to return to some normalcy. And now that that we meet all these cool, interesting people, absolutely, it'll be so much fun. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you out there.
Hey, guys.
Check out the episode, video, podcast on the app, on YouTube, everywhere you can listen to podcasts. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys.
Bye.